Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha. And I'd like to share with you a sentiment of loving kindness as a motivation for our practice today. Bright greens. Look at all that potential life right there. This one reads, "May I gift myself time watching clouds. May I gift myself time watching clouds." Friends, for the month of June in the Spokane Sangha, we are exploring the second aspect of the Noble Eightfold Path. And we're doing this in a reimagined way. So we're bringing forward the traditional idea, which is to cultivate wise intention. But we're also bringing forward a reimagined idea, reimagined notion. And the reason why I'm doing this is I needed it. When I was first discovering Buddhism, the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, I was simultaneously having to unlearn a lot of things. And I encountered all kinds of new language, cultural experiences, cultural influences that were so different than my own experience. And so when I was studying the Noble Eightfold Path and I was thinking, all right, yes, of course, we need to cultivate wise understanding as a way of understanding the conditions of suffering. I need to cultivate wise understanding, make sense. I wonder what that means. And then I went to the next one. Okay, I've got to cultivate wise intentions. Righto, I'm on it. What happens when I have good intentions and shitty things happen? Oops. Now what do I do? Got to reimagine that. What can I work with? How can I think about what it means to cultivate wise intentions? For me, it meant creating space, to be spacious, cultivating wise understanding. The first aspect to the Noble Eightfold Path for me was to be curious. And in that curiosity, I had to create a lot of space for all the stuff in my life to arise and to show me what it wanted to show me. And one of the things I was unlearning was trying to tamp down all the things I didn't want to see, all the things I judged to be bad and I tried to get rid of. I'm just going to clear out all of that out of my space so that my space is so neat and tidy, like a perpetual Zen garden. You know, no distractions, no mess, no dog poop, no bird splat, no weeds. Well, you know, my life isn't a perpetual Zen garden. That's just the nature of my life. That's just the reality of my life. My life is a riot. It's a riotous meadow of color and mess and chaos and softness and glory and beauty and life and death. It's this constant eruption and settling down and growth and decay. And in order for me to see that with any kind of clarity, I have to create space between it and myself. Yesterday, I made mention that I was going to bring forward a wonderful book by Jetsuma Tenzin Palmo, and I forgot that book. And so I'll read it tomorrow. So today, instead, what I thought I would bring forward is a very famous teaching by the Buddha. And it's called the Flower Sermon. And maybe you know this one, but I'd like to put my spin on it today. And this is all about creating space around a single object in order to gain access to meaning and purpose. Two very big concepts. So imagine, if you will, a flower. The Buddha used a lotus flower. And I invite you to imagine your favorite flower, because I'd really love for you to make this your own. And I'd like you to imagine it in its bud stage. So think about a rose in its bud stage, or a peony in its bud stage, or a poppy, or a bachelor button, or a tomato flower, whatever is arising for you. Just think about that tight, enclosed bud. And I'd also like you to take a moment and just notice my hands, the shape of my hands in this mudra, this hand posture. This is the bud posture. So my fingertips are touching, but there's a gap in where my palms are. And this is to symbolize a bud of a flower. So the story goes that the Buddha was teaching this sermon, the flower sermon, to an enormous audience of monks. And he held up a single flower, a lotus flower. And he didn't speak. He just held up this flower. And he observed the many, many monks in this assembly, and many of them were just striving, looking at that flower, trying to extract and glean its meaning and understanding and wisdom. And they were really looking and concentrating very intently. Good little Buddhist monks. But there was one monk. His name was Mahakasyapa. And all of a sudden the Buddha caught his eye, and Mahakasyapa sat taller as he looked at this flower. And his whole body softened. And he simply smiled. And the Buddha smiled in response. Imagine your bud, your flower bud, and imagine that this living being goes through all kinds of things, all kinds of experiences in its life cycle. It experiences wonderful conditions for its growth and nurturance, plenty of water, terrific nutrients in the soil, lovely sunshine to kind of work those petals open. Maybe if your bud is a peony, for instance, it needs the friendship and the collaboration of ants, because the ants will nibble at the sugary coating around the petals of a peony and help open them up. Without that interconnection, the peony flowers don't bloom. These buds also endure really adverse conditions. Rain, sometimes snow in off-season, all kinds of gnawing critters that chew on the roots. Maybe a couple of wonderful, friendly, riotous puppies, if you live at my house, that could care less about my peonies and my flowers. They just want to growl and rustle and bite, so they just roll over everything. Maybe you have deer or fox or rabbits or bear that break the plants. And yet these buds continue to flourish and they begin to flower and bloom like my fingers are doing. They're opening up and they receive more sunlight and nutrients and water, energy from the cosmos and the earth. They welcome pollinators without which we wouldn't have food. So these flowers aren't mere decorations. We are connected to them intimately. Their life cycle has a positive effect on our life cycle, and what they endure in terms of the conditions we too endure. And then that beautiful flower, when its life cycle has reached its pinnacle, it knows, its consciousness knows to begin to turn inward on itself and to reproduce itself in the form of seeds. And it will turn inward. The petals will die back. And a pregnant womb will begin filling with seed. And under continued conditions, it will replant itself, resow itself. If you're the borage plant, the flower will bow to the earth, and it has a single seed in the shape of an arrow. And it points down to the earth because it knows that that's the direction, that's where it needs to go. If you're a dandelion, you have a puff, and you have an intimate connection to the wind. And it will just poof, go all over. If you're a poppy, you have a beautiful womb, a beautiful vessel, a bowl, and it's got a velvet hat on it that will dry and pop open and reveal all of these windows around the very top of the poppy. And when the wind blows or when a butterfly lands, it spills its seeds in multiple directions. If you're a sunflower, thousands of seeds land on the plate of that flower. And in the fall, it too will bow to the earth, knowing that its death means new life. So how does one capture the meaning of a flower? How does one capture the purpose of a flower, having said all that I just said? How does one capture the meaning of a life? Your life, my life? How would I describe the purpose of my being here? Well, if I'm going to channel Mahakasyapa, I'm going to smile at my life. And I'm going to allow the conditions of my life to dance me and play with me, to challenge me and encourage me so that I can flower into the fullest possible me. And the other thing I'd like to do with my life is gather myself up with other beautiful flowers, like we're doing here today, gathered in this collective, colorful bouquet. One of a kind human beings. What a miracle of life. That we found each other, that we can smile with one another, that we can flower together, grow, be challenged. In some ways, this lands to me as the return to Eden. And it's an invitation to heal from having been exiled. And the silence and spaciousness of that silence and stillness. Take time with the flower calling to you. Notice its full life cycle. Celebrate its presence in your mind. Listen to the wisdom rising up within you, and enjoy this time of reflection. Friends, one of the most important things that I've had to practice and learn repeatedly, I have to visit this daily, it seems like, is this notion that I can create and curate a life that is flawless somehow. And so, for instance, whenever I experience tightness like a bud, somehow I judge that in my very dualistic mind as being the bad thing, and that I need to flourish and be open at all times. So I'm going to do everything I can to get rid of this tightness aspect. And it is a folly, because this tightness aspect, if I'm going to look at a flower, it is a temporary state of being. So I know that my own tightness is a temporary state of being, and in fact, it could be there protecting me. It could be there offering me some wisdom, some insight. And if I can just create some space around it, if I can just be a little bit curious and patient, maybe those are the conditions that add to the soil of my being so that tightness can soften and I slowly begin to flower and blossom. And even that stage is temporary, because inevitably the flowering stage will end, the conditions will shift, all that state will die into something else. But again, that something else is some kind of continuation, some kind of life-sustaining seed. But again, I can't see any of it if I don't create space in my mind, my heart, my physical being, my schedule, if I don't make time to just be with myself exactly as I am, in whatever stage I am. All of it matters. All of it's part of the miracle of this life. All of it worthy of reflection, care, and maybe a gentle smile. Let's end our practice today by chanting to the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. If you know this chant, you can chant with me. We'll do it 3 times. It's very, very simple. It's Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, and Namo Sanghaya. Taking a deep breath together, breathing in. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Sanghaya. Alrighty. And I will share with you too, one of the things about cultivating wise intentions and having space and being spacious is to really exercise that observer. So for example, when I find myself grinding and seeking, I can judge that as being the bad thing. I'm really leaning in and I'm really looking, and I can be like, "Oh, that's a little too much." Or I can just go, "Wow, yeah, would you look at that? Look at me leaning in." I this is it. This is the threshold moment where I realize, "Oh, now I need a little more space." But had I not leaned in, I wouldn't have arrived at that threshold. And so that's where that curiosity comes in. That's where that, wow, would you look at that? Okay. Yeah, I was leaning in. That I don't need to do that anymore. That's that temporary nature of things. So this is all about just staying nice and supple. And we'll continue this conversation tomorrow. Lo has posted in the chat the link to Soul Center. You can access all of our recordings there. You can email me there. You can check out our tokens of mindfulness, which is a wonderful way to support this community. We've got t-shirts and prayer flags and tokens of, oh, did you get yours, Allison? Yay. The sentiments of metta cards, our loving kindness cards, all of these things that we create and do are obviously to share the beauty of this Buddhist practice and to encourage a way of being generous in this community so we can keep the lights on and pay the insurance and all that good stuff, all that grown up adult stuff. And of course, too, there's a book that we have. We have Sati Seva, Reimagining Recovery and Support. That's available on our website as well. And I would highly recommend the Recovery Dharma book as well. If you don't have a copy of that, highly recommend that too. I think that's it, friends. And I'd like to go ahead and end our practice today with a dedication of merit. And for anyone who's new to a Buddhist inspired approach to recovery or to anything, it is tradition to begin a practice of stepping into this ancient Dharma by setting an intention. And the tradition is to end the practice by dedicating the goodness, the merit of gathering here today, of taking this time to reflect, of having some new insights maybe planted in the consciousness there, to dedicate it out into the world. It's one thing to take this goodness for our own healing and transformation. It's very important to do that, to receive it, to allow it to be there. But there's more involved. And that more is the awareness that I and you possess a radiance, an energetic radiance that shares this goodness. It's as bright as light. It's as invisible as the breeze. It's as warming as the sun. It's as grounding as the earth. It is you. And it radiates through your presence and your smile, through the way you touch people, the way you look at people, the way you're present to the birds and the plants and all of life itself. So we take a moment to dedicate all of that goodness. And how I'd like to do that today is just to have you imagine yourself standing very still under a cloud. And I'd like you to imagine that cloud, rather than being a storm or any kind of weather, is a place of refuge. It's a place of shade on a hot day. It's a place of relief and refuge. And you can share that relief and refuge to everyone you encounter today, whether it's in line at the grocery store, on hold on the telephone, whether it's someone you see on the streets, just thinking about all the people in the hospitals in your communities, all of the people in the jails and prisons in your communities, all of the people who are still ravaged by negative habit energy. May they be welcomed and find shelter and relief with you under your particular shady cloud. Have a wonderful day, friends. We'll see you next time. Namaste.